The massive viewing window of the human diplomatic ship Horizon showed thousands of stars. Ambassador Jack Morrison stood there, hands behind his back, watching alien news broadcasts on floating screens. Every channel from every species was talking about the same thing. 3 weeks ago, humanity had done something no one thought was possible. They had said no to the Galactic Council. Jack remembered that moment clearly. The Council had demanded tribute from Earth, just like they did from every other species. They wanted half of humanity's resources, their best technology, and 10,000 humans to serve them. Every species before had said yes. They were too afraid to refuse. But Jack had stood in that great hall, looked at the most powerful beings in the galaxy, and spoke just one word. No. The door behind him opened with a soft hiss. Captain Lisa Grant walked in, her military boots making quiet sounds on the metal floor. She was a tall woman with short brown hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. "Ambassador, we have 17 requests for private meetings," she said, holding a digital tablet. "Every major council member wants to talk to you alone." Jack turned away from the window. His face was calm, but Lisa could see a small smile at the corners of his mouth. "They can wait, Captain. For 10,000 years they made other species wait and beg. Now it's their turn." Lisa nodded and checked her tablet again. "There's something else. Our sensors are picking up fleet movements. The Vorton Empire is moving their warships." "How many?" 3 battle groups so far. Each group has about 50 ships. Jack walked to the tactical display in the center of the room. The holographic map showed the galaxy with different colored dots for different species. The Vorton territory was marked in red, and sure enough, red dots were moving toward human space. "They think we're weak," Jack said. "They think one small species can't stand against them." Commander Paul Rodriguez entered the room carrying his own tablet. He was a younger man, but his eyes showed experience beyond his years. "Ambassador, I have the intelligence report you asked for." "What are our allies doing?" Jack asked. Paul touched his tablet, and the holographic map changed. "The Nexari are staying neutral. They're watching but not picking sides. The Kelrathi are different. Our sources say they're very interested in what we did. Some of their leaders are talking about refusing tribute too." "Good," Jack said. "We need others to see that it's possible." Lisa moved closer to the map. "What about Earth's defenses? If the Vortons attack?" "Earth is ready," Paul answered. "Admiral White has positioned our fleet at key points. The new planetary shields are online. The defense platforms are armed." Jack studied the map for a long moment. Below them, through the viewing window, the planet Xerion Prime glowed with lights. This was the center of council power, where they had ruled for thousands of years. Every species had to send tribute here. Ships full of resources, technology, and people arrived every day. But not from Earth. Not anymore. "Sir," Lisa said, breaking the silence. "The council is calling for another assembly. They want you to attend." "When?" "Tomorrow. They say it's urgent." Jack walked back to the window. He could see council ships moving between the orbital stations. They were massive vessels designed to intimidate. For most species, just seeing those ships was enough to make them surrender. "They're scared," Jack said quietly. For the first time in their history, someone stood up to them. They don't know what to do. Paul pulled up another display. "Our analysts think the council is divided. Some want to attack us immediately. Others want to negotiate. A few are even suggesting they reduce tribute demands for everyone." "Too little, too late," Lisa said. "They had 10,000 years to be fair. They chose to be tyrants instead." Jack turned to face them both. "Send a message to Admiral White. Tell her to be ready for anything. The Vortons might attack, or they might just be trying to scare us." "What about the council assembly?" Lisa asked. "I'll attend," Jack said. "But on our terms, I'll bring a full security team. And I want our ships visible from the council chambers. Let them see that humanity doesn't stand alone." Paul was already typing on his tablet. "I'll coordinate with the fleet. We can have 12 ships in orbit by tomorrow." "Make it 20, Jack said. And make sure the new ones are visible, the ones with the upgraded shields and weapons. Lisa raised an eyebrow. You want to show them our new technology? I want them to know we're not the same species they first met 50 years ago, Jack explained. Humans learn fast. We adapt. We improve. That's what scares them most. A soft beep came from Paul's tablet. He read the message quickly, then looked up with concern. Ambassador, we have a problem. 3 colonies have reported Vortan scout ships entering their systems. They're testing us, Lisa said, seeing how we react. Jack walked to the communication panel on the wall. He pressed a button and spoke clearly. This is Ambassador Morrison to all human colonies. If you detect Vortan ships in your space, follow Protocol 7. Do not fire unless fired upon, but make sure they know you see them. He turned back to Lisa and Paul. The Vortans want to make us nervous. They want us to make a mistake, to fire first. Then they can claim we started a war. What if they attack anyway? Paul asked. Then we defend ourselves, Jack said simply. But I don't think they will. Not yet. They're still trying to understand us. No species has ever said no before. They don't have a plan for this. Lisa walked to another display showing Earth. The blue and green planet looked peaceful from space. But Jack knew better. Hidden beneath that peaceful appearance were weapons that could destroy fleets, shields that could stop almost any attack, and most importantly, 7 billion humans who refused to be slaves. The other species are watching, Lisa said. Whatever happens next, it won't just affect us. If we succeed, if we actually stand against the Council and win, everything changes. Jack nodded slowly. That's why we can't fail. This isn't just about humanity anymore. It's about every species that's been crushed under Council rule. Paul's tablet beeped again. This time he smiled. Ambassador, you need to see this. The Yarnari Federation just sent a private message. They want to know how we found the courage to say no. What should we tell them? Lisa asked. Jack thought for a moment. Tell them that courage isn't something you find. It's something you choose. Every species has the ability to say no. They just need to remember that. Outside the window, a human warship passed by. It was one of the new ones, sleek and dangerous looking. Its shield shimmered faintly in the starlight. On its hull was Earth's symbol, a blue planet surrounded by stars. Tomorrow's assembly will be interesting, Paul said. Jack smiled fully now. Yes, it will be. The Council thinks they can pressure us into changing our minds. They're about to learn that when humanity says no, we mean it. The 3 of them stood there, looking out at the stars. Each of them knew that the next few days would determine the future of not just humanity, but the entire galaxy. The Council had ruled through fear for 10,000 years, but fear only works if people choose to be afraid. And humanity had chosen something else. The Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Council was the largest structure ever built in space. Its walls were made of crystal that seemed to sing when light passed through them. The ceiling stretched up so high that clouds formed near the top. Representatives from 100 different species could fit inside with room to spare. High Chancellor Zixatheta of the Vortan Empire stood at the central podium. He was 3 meters tall with 4 arms and skin that looked like polished black stone. His 6 eyes blazed with anger as he spoke to the assembled representatives. The humans have insulted us all, he said, his voice booming through the translation. Devices. For 10,000 cycles, the tribute system has kept peace in the galaxy. Every species has paid their share. Every species has shown respect. Until now. Around the Great Hall, representatives from dozens of species watched and listened. Some nodded in agreement, others remained silent. A few looked thoughtful, as if seeing things differently for the first time. Representative Melkar of the Altarian Collective raised one of her tentacles to speak. The Altarians were ancient, even older than the Vortans. Their bodies were like living water, constantly shifting and flowing. High Chancellor, she said, her voice sounding like ocean waves. Perhaps we should ask why the humans refused. They are not a foolish species. They must have reasons. Zixa Theta's 6 eyes all focused on her. Reasons. What reason could justify defying the natural order? The strong lead, the weak follow. This is how it has always been. But are the humans weak? Asked Administrator Corinth of the Mechanical Union. The machine being's body was a perfect cube of silver metal with lights blinking in complex patterns. Their technology has advanced very quickly. They now have weapons we don't fully understand. Stolen. Technology! Zix Theta slammed all 4 of his fists on the podium. They traded for it, bought it, copied it. They create nothing original. That's not entirely true, said a new voice. Everyone turned to see Ambassador Shivara of the Kelrathi. Her crystalline body caught the light and threw rainbows across the hall. The humans have improved every technology they've acquired. Their shields are now stronger than ours. Their engines are faster. The hall erupted in discussion. Representatives talked to each other in 100 different languages. The translation devices struggled to keep up with so many voices at once. Meanwhile, on the human cruiser Independence, Admiral Karen White watched the council assembly through spy drones, too small to detect. Her bridge crew was busy monitoring everything happening in council space. They're arguing about us, said Lieutenant Commander Jake Phillips. He was a young officer but one of the best tactical minds in the fleet. Look at the body language. Even without understanding all the species, you can see they're divided. Karen nodded. She was a woman who had spent 30 years in space, and her gray hair showed the stress of command. But her eyes were sharp and missed nothing. This is what we hoped for. The council only works if everyone agrees, if they start fighting among themselves. Admiral, called Chief Engineer Amy Chen from her station. I'm picking up encrypted messages between some of the representatives. The Kelrathi are talking to the Yarnari. The peaceful collective is reaching out to the shadows. They're forming groups, Jake observed. Some support the council, others are questioning it. Karen stood up from her command chair and walked to the main view screen. Send a message to Ambassador Morrison. Tell him the council is cracking. He should push harder in tomorrow's session. Back in the Grand Assembly, Zixa Theta was trying to regain control. Enough discussion. The humans have defied us. There must be consequences. I propose we send a tribute fleet to Earth immediately. They will pay double for their insult. And if they refuse again? Asked Melkar. Then we take what is ours by force, Zix Theta replied. The Council has the largest fleet in the galaxy. No single species can stand against us. Administrator, Corinth's lights blinked rapidly, which meant he was processing information. High Chancellor, I must share some data. The humans have been building ships at an unprecedented rate. Our latest count shows they have over 3,000 military vessels. The hall went quiet. 3,000 ships was not a huge fleet by galactic standards, but for a species that had only been in space for 200 years, it was remarkable. Numbers mean nothing, Zix Theta said, but his voice had less confidence now. Our ships are superior. Are they? Shivara asked. When was the last time the Council fleet saw real combat? 1,000 years? 2,000? The humans have been fighting each other, and pirates for decades. They have experience we lack. On Earth, President Linda Davis sat in the Situation Room with her advisors. The wall showed displays from across human space. Every colony, every ship, every defense platform was shown in real time. General Frank Murphy pointed to a display showing Vortan ship movements. They're pulling fleets from their border territories. If Zixa Theta gets his way, we could be looking at an invasion force of 10,000 ships. Linda studied the display. She was not a woman who scared easily. She had led Earth through the First Contact Crisis, the Pirate Wars, and the building of humanity's space presence. What about our allies? The Kelrathi are secretly moving ships to their border with Council space, the general reported. If fighting starts, they might join. Us, the Yarnari, are doing the same. They smell weakness, Linda said. For the first time, someone has shown that the Council can be defied. Others want to follow, but they're waiting to see what happens to us first. Defense Secretary Greg Howard raised a concern. Madam President, should we consider a compromise? Maybe pay some tribute to avoid war? Linda turned to him with steel in her eyes. Secretary Howard, if we pay even 1 credit of tribute, we become slaves. Maybe comfortable slaves, but slaves nonetheless. Humanity didn't come to the stars to bow to tyrants. Back in the Grand Assembly, a new representative stood to speak. It was Vormal of the Shadows, beings that existed partially in another dimension. Their bodies seemed to be made of living darkness with stars floating inside. The Council speaks of consequences for defiance, Vormal said, their voice like whispers from everywhere at once. But what of consequences for tyranny? How many species have been broken by tribute? How many colonies have starved so the Council could feast? You dare question the system that brought peace? Zixtheta roared. What peace? Vormal responded. The peace of chains? The peace of empty stomachs and stolen children? The humans have shown us that this peace is a lie. More representatives began to speak up. The gentle gardeners, a plant-like species, talked about how tribute had destroyed their forest worlds. The star swimmers, beings of pure energy, described how the Council had taken their most precious energy sources. Zixtheta could feel control slipping away. The tribute system is not under discussion. We are here to discuss the human problem. They are the same discussion, Melkar said. The humans are not a problem. They are a mirror showing us what we have become. On the Independence, Admiral White received a priority message. She read it quickly, then turned to her crew. The new defense platforms are online at all colonies. If the Vortans want to fight, we're ready. Jake Phillips was monitoring communications. Admiral, I'm intercepting Council fleet orders. They're mobilizing everything, but wait, some ships aren't responding. Which ones? The Altarian contingent is staying in port. So are the Kelrathi ships attached to the Council fleet, MEO. Chen looked up from her engineering station. Admiral, this is bigger than just us now. The Council military is fragmenting. Back in the Assembly, Zixtheta made one last attempt to maintain control. I call for a vote, all in favor of immediate military action against humanity. Hands, tentacles, energy fields, and other appendages rose around the hall, but not as many as Zixtheta expected. He counted quickly. Less than half. All opposed? More appendages rose. Still not a majority, but close. Abstaining? The final group raised their various limbs. The abstentions were enough to prevent any action. For the first time in 10,000 years, the Galactic Council had failed to reach a consensus on a major decision. Zixtheta stood frozen at the podium. In that moment, everyone in the hall understood that something fundamental had changed. The humans hadn't just said no to tribute. They had broken the spell that held the Council together. The age of unquestioned obedience was ending. The colony of New Virginia floated in space like a jewel against the darkness. It was one of humanity's newer settlements, built inside a hollowed-out asteroid. 20,000 people lived there, mining rare minerals and building ships. The colony had parks with real trees, lakes with fish, and a sky that looked almost like Earth's. Governor Sam Parker stood in the command center at the heart of the colony. He was watching the sensor displays with growing concern. 3 large objects had just appeared at the edge of their system. They were moving fast, heading straight for New Virginia. Confirm identification, Sam ordered. He was a calm man who had governed the colony for 5 years, but today his voice carried tension. Defense Coordinator Betty Johnson worked at her console, her fingers flying over the controls. Confirmed, Governor. 3 Vortan destroyers. Warrior. Class. They're not responding to our hails. Sam felt his stomach tighten. Each Vortan destroyer was 2 kilometers long and carried enough firepower to destroy cities. 3 of them could turn New Virginia into floating debris. Alert all civilians, Sam commanded. Emergency shelters now, and get me a link to Earth. The alarm began to sound throughout the colony. In the parks, families grabbed their children and ran for the shelter tunnels. In the factories, workers shut down their machines and moved to safe zones. Everyone had practiced this, but nobody thought it would really happen. Betty looked up from her console. Governor, the Vortans are broadcasting on all channels. Put it through. The main screen lit up with the image of a Vortan. Commander. Like all his species, he had black stone-like skin and 6 eyes. His forearms were crossed in what Sam knew was a gesture of superiority. "Humans of this colony," the Vortan said, his translated voice cold and threatening. "Your government has committed crimes against the natural order. You have refused the rightful tribute to the Galactic Council. This colony will now pay the price." Sam stepped forward. "Commander, this is Governor Sam Parker. You are in violation of human sovereign space. Turn your ships around and leave immediately." The Vortan made a sound that might have been laughter. "You dare give orders to us? We who ruled the stars when your species was still crawling in mud? You will surrender this colony for tribute collection, or we will take it by force." "We don't recognize your authority here," Sam said firmly. "This is human space. We will defend it." "With what?" the Vortan commander sneered. "Your colony has no warships. You have mining vessels and transports. We have destroyers that have conquered 100 worlds." Sam looked at Betty, who nodded slightly. The secret was about to be revealed. "Commander," Sam said, turning back to the screen, "I'll give you one chance. Leave now, and no one gets hurt. Stay, and you'll learn why humanity said no to the Council." The Vortan commander's 6 eyes all blinked at once, a sign of amusement. "Primitive species, you amuse us. Your colony will serve as an example to all who would defy the Council. Prepare to—" The transmission cut off suddenly. Betty's hands moved over her console. "Governor, they're charging weapons. Impact in 3 minutes." Sam touched a hidden panel on his command chair. A new console rose from the floor, glowing with blue light. "All defense stations, this is the Governor. Authentication code Parker77. You are authorized to engage." Deep beneath New Virginia's surface, something awakened. The colony had been built with mining equipment, yes, but humans were clever. They had used those mining tools to dig deeper than anyone knew. Down there, in chambers carved from solid rock, they had built something special. The planetary defense cannon was humanity's secret weapon. Every colony had one now, built in secret over the past 2 years. It used a combination of technologies: Altarian energy manipulation, Kelrathi crystal focusing, and human ingenuity. The result was a weapon unlike anything the galaxy had seen. "Defense system online," Betty reported. "Target locked on lead destroyer." "Sir," said Communications Officer Danny Martinez, "Earth is responding. Admiral White says we are authorized to defend ourselves." Sam sat down in his command chair. Through the viewports, he could see the 3 Vortan ships getting closer. They were massive, blocking out the stars. Their weapons glowed red as they prepared to fire. "Governor," Betty said urgently, "they're firing." Red beams of energy shot from the Vortan ships. They streaked through space toward New Virginia. The colonists in the shelters held their children close. Everyone waited for the impact, but it never came. A shield of blue energy appeared around the colony, invisible until the Vortan weapons hit it. The red beam struck the shield and dispersed harmlessly. The shield flickered but held strong. On the Vortan command ship, the commander stared at his displays in confusion. "That's impossible. No colony has shields that strong." His weapons officer checked the readings. "Commander, their shield frequency is changing every nanosecond. Our weapons can't adapt fast enough." "Fire everything," the commander ordered. "All weapons, maximum power." All 3 destroyers opened fire at once. Dozens of beams and missiles streaked toward New Virginia. The colony's shield flared brighter and brighter, but it held. The weapons that had destroyed worlds could not break through humanity's new defenses. Sam watched the attack with grim satisfaction. Then he turned to Betty. "I think we've made our point about defense. Now let's show them offense. Fire when ready." Betty touched a single button. Firing. From the heart of New Virginia, a beam of pure white energy erupted. It was so bright that everyone had to look away. The beam moved faster than thought, faster than the Vortans could react. It struck the lead destroyer exactly in the center. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the Vortan ship's shields flickered. They flashed different colors, red, blue, green, as they tried to adapt to the weapon. But the beam's frequency was changing millions of times per second, faster than any shield could match. The shields failed. The beam punched through the destroyer's hull like paper. It cut through decks, bulkheads, and armor as if they weren't there. The ship split in half, then exploded in a ball of orange fire that could be seen from the colony. The two remaining Vortan ships immediately stopped firing. On their bridges, alarms screamed and officers shouted in panic. "Retreat!" The RAL, second destroyer's captain ordered. "Jump to hyperspace now!" Both ships turned away from New Virginia. Their engines flared as they tried to escape. Within seconds, they vanished into hyperspace, leaving only the debris of their destroyed companion. Sam stood up slowly. The command center was completely quiet. Everyone stared at the displays, hardly believing what they had just seen. "Sir," Betty said softly, "we did it. We actually did it." "Send a message to Earth," Sam ordered. "Tell them the defense system works. The Vortans attacked and we drove them off." Danny was already working. "Governor, we're receiving transmissions from everywhere. The other colonies want to know what happened. The news networks are going crazy." On Earth, President Linda Davis received the report in her office. She read it twice to make sure she understood. Then she turned to her Joint Chiefs of Staff. "One colony destroyer, 3 Vortan warships," she said. "The galaxy just learned that humanity is not an easy target." General Frank Murphy was studying the sensor data from the battle. "The Vortans will be back with more ships." "Let them come," Linda replied. "Every colony has the same defenses now. We can hold." At New Virginia, the all-clear sounded. Families emerged from the shelters, looking up at the sky where the battle had taken place. Parents held their children and explained that they were safe, that humanity had protected them. Sam stood at the viewport, looking out at the debris field that had been a Vortan destroyer. His communication console was beeping constantly with messages from Earth, from other colonies, even from alien species who had somehow heard about the battle. Betty approached him with a tablet. "Governor, you should see this. We're intercepting Council communications. They're in chaos. No one has ever destroyed a Vortan destroyer in single combat before." "This is just the beginning," Sam said. "They thought we were weak because we're young. They forgot that youth often means innovation. We don't fight like they do because we learned from all of them and then made something new." "The Vortans are claiming we cheated," Danny reported from his station. "They say we must have had hidden warships." Sam actually smiled at that. "Let them think what they want. The truth is scarier for them that a mining colony just beat their best warships." "Sir," Betty said, looking at her displays, "I'm detecting movement throughout Council space. Dozens of species are mobilizing their fleets." "Are they coming here?" Sam asked. "No, sir. They're moving to defensive positions. They're afraid of us now." Sam nodded slowly. The galaxy had just shifted. For 10,000 years, the Council had ruled through fear of their military might. Now, for the first time, they were the ones who were afraid. "Send a message to all human colonies," Sam ordered. "Tell them to stay alert, but not to fire unless fired upon. We're not conquerors. We just want to be left alone." But even as he said it, Sam knew that wouldn't be possible. The destruction of the Vortan destroyer had sent a message across the galaxy. Humanity would not bow. Humanity would not pay tribute. And anyone who tried to force them would learn what New Virginia had just taught, that humans were far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. The abandoned space station drifted in the empty space between territories. It had been left to rot for 100 years, forgotten by everyone. That made it perfect for a secret meeting. No one would look here. No one would expect the galaxy to change in such a forgotten place. Ambassador Jack Morrison stood in what had once been the station's main conference room. The air recyclers still worked, barely, filling the room with a metallic smell. The lights flickered sometimes, casting strange shadows on the walls. Jack had arrived early to prepare, but really he just needed time to think about what was about to happen. The door opened with a grinding sound. Captain Lisa Grant entered, followed by a security team. They swept the room with scanners, checking for listening devices or traps. "Clear, Ambassador," Lisa reported. "Our guests are arriving. The Kelrathi ship just docked. Jack straightened, his diplomatic uniform. How many came? 7 species so far, just like they promised. More are holding back, waiting to see what happens. The door opened again. The first to enter was Ambassador Shivara of the Kelrathi. Her crystalline body caught the dim light and made it dance. She moved carefully, each step making a soft, ringing sound. Behind her came 2 guards, also made of living crystal but darker, almost black. Ambassador Morrison, Shivara said, her voice like wind chimes. Thank you for arranging this meeting. What you did at New Virginia has given us much to think about. The defense of New Virginia was just survival, Jack replied. What we're discussing today is about living, not just surviving. More beings entered the room. The Yarnari representative floated in a special suit filled with the methane atmosphere of their home world. The suit was transparent, showing the Yarnari's true form, something like a jellyfish made of golden gas with electrical sparks moving through it. I am Flux of Stars, the Yarnari said through the suit's translator. My people have paid tribute for 3,000 years. We have forgotten what freedom tastes like. Next came the shadows of the void. They didn't walk so much as flow into the room, their bodies seeming to be made of space itself with tiny stars twinkling inside. Their representative, Vormal, took a position in the corner where the shadows were deepest. We have come, Vormal whispered, though the sound seemed to come from everywhere. Though if the council learns of this meeting, we will all be marked for destruction. They're too busy dealing with their own problems, Jack said. The destruction of their destroyer has them arguing among themselves. They won't notice this meeting until it's too late. The gentle gardeners arrived next, 3 of them walking together. They looked like trees that had learned to walk, with bark-like skin and leaves that rustled when they moved. The leader, who called themselves Growing Toward Light, extended a branch-like hand to Jack. The humans have shown great courage, Growing Toward Light said, their voice like wind in leaves. We wish to learn from you. 3 more species arrived over the next few minutes. The Peaceful Collective, beings who shared a group mind. The Star Swimmers, who looked like living Aurora Borealis contained in humanoid shapes. And surprisingly, the Altarian Collective, one of the oldest council members. Representative Melkar of the Altarians flowed into the room, her water-like body constantly shifting. My presence here is not official, she said carefully. But many Altarians believe the council has lost its way. We wish to explore alternatives. When everyone was assembled, Jack moved to the center of the room. A holographic projector activated, showing a map of the galaxy. Different colored regions marked different species' territories. Thank you all for coming, Jack began. 2 months ago, humanity said no to the council's tribute demands. We thought we stood alone. But your presence here shows we were wrong. You were the first, Shivara said. But we have all thought about it. Every species here has suffered under tribute. Our colonies struggle while the council grows rich. My people have lost 7 worlds to tribute collection, Flux of Stars added. Worlds stripped bare of resources, populations taken for service. We said nothing because we feared the council's fleet. But now you have shown the fleet can be beaten, Vormal whispered. 1 colony destroyed a destroyer. If we stand together, Jack raised his hand. We're not here to start a war. Wars destroy. We're here to build something new. He touched the holographic display. New colors appeared on the map, showing trade routes. Imagine a galaxy where species trade freely, where resources are exchanged fairly, not taken by force, where technology is shared for mutual benefit, not hoarded by the powerful. Growing Toward Light rustled their leaves thoughtfully. The council would never allow this. They have ruled for 10,000 years. The council is 40 species, Jack said. There are over 200 intelligent species in the galaxy. They rule because we let them, because we've been divided, each species alone and afraid. Melkar's form shifted, showing what might have been interest. You propose an alliance? I propose a choice, Jack replied. Continue as we are, paying tribute and watching our people suffer, or stand together and say no. Not with violence, but with unity. Lisa Grant stepped forward with a data pad. We've run the numbers. If just the species in this room stopped paying tribute, the Council would lose 30% of their resources. If 20 more species joined us, the Council economy would collapse. They would attack us, Shivara said. They would try, Jack agreed. But look at the math. The Council has 40 species. If even half the galaxy joins us, we outnumber them 5-1. And that's assuming all Council species stay loyal, which they won't. The room fell silent as each representative considered this. They had come here curious but afraid. Now they were beginning to see possibilities. What would you call this alliance? Asked the representative of the peaceful collective, speaking with dozens of voices at once. Jack smiled. The Free Systems Alliance. Simple, clear, and it says exactly what we stand for. Free, Flux of Stars repeated, tasting the word. My people have forgotten what that means. Then let's remind them, Jack said. He pulled out a document, projecting it as a hologram for all to see. This is a draft charter. No species rules. Over another. Decisions are made by vote, with each species having equal say regardless of size or power. Mutual defense. An attack on one is an attack on all. And most importantly, no tribute. Ever. Growing Toward Light read through the charter carefully. This is very different from how the galaxy has worked. That's the point, Jack said. The old way benefits only the powerful. This way benefits everyone. If we sign this, we paint targets on our worlds, Shivara observed. You already have targets on your worlds, Jack countered. The Council takes what they want from you whenever they want. The only difference is whether you resist or submit. Formal drifted closer to the charter. My people have hidden in the void for millennia, avoiding the Council's worst demands, but hiding is not living. We are tired of shadows. One by one, the representatives moved closer to look at the charter. They discussed it among themselves in their various languages. The translator devices worked overtime, creating a symphony of mechanical voices. Finally, Melkar spoke. If the Altarians sign this, we will be expelled from the Council. We will lose our ancient position. Is that position worth your freedom? Jack asked simply. Melkar's form stilled, something that rarely happened with her species. No, it is not. She moved forward and touched the charter with a watery appendage. Where she touched, her genetic signature was recorded. She had signed. Shivara came next, her crystalline hand leaving a pattern of light on the document. Then, Flux of Stars, whose electrical touch left sparking letters, Growing Toward Light pressed a branch to it, leaving the genetic markers of their whole grove. One by one, each species added their signature. When it was done, 8 species had formally allied with humanity. This is just the beginning, Jack said. When others see that we stand together, more will join. The brave ones first, then the desperate, then even the comfortable when they see the tide turning. The Council will know about this within days, Lisa warned. Our security is good, but nothing stays secret in the galaxy for long. Let them know, Jack replied. In fact, we should announce it ourselves. Pride, not shame, strength, not fear. Shivara's crystal body chimed with what might have been laughter. You humans are either very brave or very foolish. Both, Jack admitted. It's what makes us human. The meeting continued for several more hours. They discussed defense strategies, resource sharing, and how to convince more species to join. When they finally left, it was not as separate species sneaking away, but as allies with a common purpose. Back on Earth, President Linda Davis received Jack's report. She read it 3 times, then called her cabinet together. 9 species, including us, she announced. It's not much against the Council's 40, but it's a start. General Frank Murphy was already working on military cooperation plans. The Kelrathi have excellent shield technology. The Shadows know stealth systems we can only dream about. If we share technology, we'll all be stronger, Linda finished. That's the point. The Council keeps species separated and weak. We're doing the opposite. Within a week, 12 more species had quietly reached out to join the alliance. Within a month, that number had doubled. The council tried to. 6 months had passed since humanity's first refusal. The galaxy looked very different now. Where once the council's tribute ships had traveled unopposed, now they found closed borders and defensive fleets. Where once species had bowed in fear, now they stood tall with newfound courage. High Chancellor Zix Theta stood in his private chamber, looking at displays that showed bad news getting worse. Half the galaxy had joined the Free Systems Alliance. The other half was watching and waiting. Even among the Council's 40 species, cracks were showing. Some were secretly negotiating with the Alliance. The door opened, and Administrator Corinth entered. The mechanical being's lights blinked in patterns that showed concern. "High Chancellor, we must discuss reality," Corinth said. "The tribute system has collapsed. We are receiving less than 10% of normal resources. Several council species are threatening to withdraw if we don't find a solution. We have the largest fleet," Zix Theta said, but his voice lacked its old confidence. "We can force compliance." "Can we?" Corinth asked. "The Alliance now has 90 species. Their combined fleets outnumber ours 3-1, and the humans keep sharing their defensive technology. 17 Alliance worlds now have planetary defense systems like New Virginia." Zix Theta's 6 eyes closed in frustration. Everything had fallen apart so quickly. One human had said one word and an empire of 10,000 years had started crumbling. "What do you suggest?" he asked finally. "Negotiation," Corinth replied. "The humans and their allies don't want to destroy us. They want to change the system. Perhaps change is not extinction." On Earth, President Linda Davis stood before the assembled Alliance Council. Representatives from 90 species filled the great hall that had been built in just 3 months. It wasn't as grand as the Council's Crystal Palace, but it felt more honest. Everyone here had chosen to be here. "Friends," Linda began, "we've received a message from the Galactic Council. They want to discuss terms." The hall buzzed with conversation in dozens of languages. Some representatives looked pleased, others suspicious. Shevara of the Kilrathi spoke first. "What kind of terms? Surrender?" "Not surrender," Linda replied. "Transformation. They're willing to discuss abolishing the tribute system completely." Vormal of the Shadows whispered from their corner, "This could be a trap. The Council has never negotiated in good faith before." "True," Linda agreed, "but they've also never been this weak before. Half their member species are ready to leave. Their economy has collapsed. They need this negotiation more than we do." Ambassador Jack Morrison stepped forward. "I propose we meet with them, but on our terms. The meeting happens in neutral space. All discussions are broadcast publicly so everyone can see, and we don't compromise on our core demands." "Which are?" asked Flux of Stars of the Yarnari. Jack activated a holographic display. "Complete abolition of tribute. Free trade among all systems. A new galactic government with rotating leadership from all member species. And trials for those who committed crimes during tribute collection." Some representatives looked uncertain. About the last point, Growing Toward Light asked, "Trials could lead to more conflict. Perhaps forgiveness would be wiser." "Justice and forgiveness aren't opposites," Linda said. "Those who ordered massacres and enslavement must answer for it. But we're not seeking revenge, just accountability." The vote was called. 87 species voted to negotiate. 3 abstained. None opposed. The meeting was set for 2 weeks later, on a neutral station between Alliance and Council space. The entire galaxy would be watching. Admiral Karen White stood on the bridge of the Independence, now flagship of the Alliance fleet. Around her, ships from dozens of species maintained formation. It was the largest peaceful gathering of vessels in galactic history. "Admiral," Jake Phillips reported, "Council fleet is approaching. They're keeping to the agreed numbers. 40. Ships no more." "Good," Karen said. "Keep our weapons powered down but shields up. We're here for peace, but we're not stupid." The negotiation hall had been specially built for this meeting. One half was decorated in Council style, crystal and light and ancient symbols. The other half was Alliance style, practical, diverse, with each species flag displayed equally. High Chancellor Zix Theta entered with his delegation. He looked older somehow, his black stone skin less polished, Behind him came representatives from the major council species. President Linda Davis led the Alliance delegation. She was flanked by Jack Morrison, Shavara, Melkar, who had officially joined the Alliance, and others. They took their seats across from the council. High Chancellor, Linda began formally. Thank you for agreeing to these discussions. Zixus Theta's 6 eyes focused on her. President Davis, 6 months ago your species was nothing. Now you lead half the galaxy. How did this happen? We didn't lead, Linda replied. We just said no first. Everyone else was already thinking it. The tribute system maintained order. For 10 millennia, Zixus Theta said. Without it, chaos will follow. The tribute system maintained your power, Jack corrected. Order can exist without oppression. We're proving that. Administrator Corinth spoke up. Let us discuss practical matters. The Alliance proposes abolishing tribute. What replaces it? Linda gestured to her economic advisor, who activated a holographic display. Free trade agreements. Each species trades what they have excess of for what they need. No force, no demands, just mutual benefit. And if a species has nothing to trade? Asked a council representative. Then others help them develop until they do, Linda replied. Investment, not exploitation. The discussions continued for hours. Each point was debated, argued, refined. The council fought to keep some of their power, but they had little leverage. The Alliance held firm on their core demands. Finally, they reached the crucial point. Zixus Theta stood up. You ask us to dissolve the council entirely, to give up everything we've built. No, Linda said, also standing. We ask you to transform it. The council doesn't have to end. It can become something better, a true galactic community where every species has a voice. And leadership? Zixus Theta asked. Rotates every 5 years, Linda explained. Chosen by vote from all member species. No species can lead twice in a row. Power shared, not hoarded. Zixus Theta was quiet for a long moment. The entire galaxy held its breath. Then, surprising everyone, he made a gesture of acceptance with all 4 arms. The old ways are dead, he said quietly. Perhaps it's time to try something new. The documents were drafted over the next 3 days. Every detail was debated and refined. When they were finally ready, representatives from 130 species gathered to sign. As Linda Davis added her signature to the charter of the new Galactic Commonwealth, a reporter asked her how humanity had accomplished the impossible. She looked directly at the camera, knowing her words would be heard on 1,000 worlds. We didn't conquer the galaxy with fleets or weapons. We conquered it with an idea. The idea that every species, no matter how small or young, has the right to stand up and say no to injustice. High Chancellor Zixus Theta, who would soon be simply Representative Zixus Theta, added his own signature. As he did, he said something that shocked everyone who knew him. The humans were right. We had forgotten that leadership means service, not domination. Perhaps being reminded of that was worth losing an empire. 1 year later, the Galactic Commonwealth held its first free election for Chancellor. The winner, chosen by votes from every member species, was growing toward light of the gentle gardeners. In their acceptance speech, they said something that perfectly captured the moment. A year ago, the galaxy was ruled by fear. Today, it is governed by hope. This change started with one word from one species. Let us never forget that even the smallest voice speaking truth can change the universe. The tribute ships were converted to trade vessels. The Council's enforcement fleets became Commonwealth peacekeepers. The palaces built on exploitation were turned into universities where all species could learn together. Captain Greg Foster stood on the bridge of humanity's newest ship, the Unity. His crew was a mix of 12 different species, working together as they explored beyond the Commonwealth's borders. Captain, his Kelrathi first officer said, we're receiving a distress signal. Unknown species, but they appear to be under attack. Greg smiled. Then let's introduce them to the Commonwealth's favorite word, the word that started it all. As the Unity jumped to help strangers in need, the galaxy continued its transformation. Species that had been enemies for centuries now traded freely, Technologies that had been hoarded were shared. Worlds that had been stripped bare began to heal. In Scio, the Commonwealth Council chambers where representatives from every species met as equals, there was a simple plaque on the wall. It showed one word in every known language, the word that had ended an empire and started a community. No. It reminded everyone that freedom begins with refusal, that courage is not measured in ships or weapons but in the willingness to stand up for what is right, and that sometimes one word is all it takes to change everything. Humanity had not conquered the galaxy, they had freed it, and in freeing it they had found their own place among the stars, not as rulers but as equals, not as conquerors but as friends. The age of tribute was over. The age of cooperation had begun, and it had all started with a single word that stunned the galaxy.